Your heart pounds, your palms sweat, and your stomach ties in painful knots as you walk into a crowded room full of complete strangers. You probably think your brain is malfunctioning, or that you are just socially broken. But the truth is, your body is actually working perfectly. For 99.9% of human history, being socially awkward wasn't just slightly embarrassing. It was an absolute, literal death sentence in the unforgiving wild. That crippling anxiety you feel right now is the exact same survival alarm that kept your ancient ancestors alive 300,000 years ago. Today, we live in a world of endless digital connection, massive open-plan offices, and terrifying public speaking events. Yet, our biology remains hopelessly ancient. When you face social rejection today, your amygdala instantly floods your bloodstream with stress hormones. Your breathing becomes shallow, and your muscles tense up. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a minor awkward silence at a dinner party and a hungry predator stalking you in the tall grass. To understand this painful glitch, we have to rewind the clock. Imagine being a hunter-gatherer living in a tiny, fragile tribe of early humans. Back then, there were no supermarkets, no police, and no hospitals. Your entire existence depended completely on staying in the good graces of your group. If you became too weird, too selfish, or simply too awkward, the tribe might abandon you. And isolation on the prehistoric savanna meant certain death. Without the protective warmth of the shared campfire, the freezing ice age temperatures would slowly numb your limbs and quietly put you to sleep forever. Without the watchful eyes of your tribal brothers and sisters, the massive cave lions and giant hyenas would quickly turn you into an easy midnight snack. Evolution is ruthlessly practical. The humans who didn't care about what others thought of them were quickly eaten, leaving 0 genes in the human gene pool. Your ancestors were the ones who successfully obsessed over their social standing. They survived precisely because they felt intense, agonizing terror at the thought of rejection. So, your social anxiety is actually a highly tuned evolutionary masterpiece. But how exactly did our brains wire social pain and physical injury to hurt identically? To answer that, we must look at the exact size of your ancestors' world. Anthropologist Dunbar discovered a hard limit to the human social brain. It is known as Dunbar's number. For hundreds of thousands of years, your entire universe consisted of roughly 150 specific individuals. There were no strangers passing you on the street, no anonymous crowds, and absolutely no digital followers. You knew exactly everyone, and everyone knew you. In a group of 150, every single reputation mattered. If you were selfish or lazy, the entire tribe would quickly find out. This is where gossip evolved. Sitting around the flickering campfire, early humans used storytelling and gossip to track who was contributing and who was cheating. If the campfire gossip turned against you, it wasn't just a matter of hurt feelings. Losing the tribe's trust meant losing your access to shared food. Without the tribe's shared resources, you would starve when winter arrived. Without their physical protection, you would be hunted down by massive ice age predators. Evolution needed a way to keep you safely inside the group. It needed a warning system so powerful that you would never dare risk tribal exile. But evolution is lazy. Instead of building a brand new social warning system from scratch, it simply hijacked an alarm system that already existed. It hijacked your physical pain network. In 2003, a groundbreaking study published in the journal Science revealed a shocking biological truth. Researchers placed participants inside an fMRI scanner and secretly excluded them from a simple digital game, deliberately causing them to feel intense social rejection. The brain scans showed something incredible. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the exact brain region that lights up when you break a leg, exploded with activity. Your brain processes the social pain of being left out using the exact same neural circuitry it uses to process the physical agony of a burning fire. Because to a prehistoric human living 300,000 years ago, being socially rejected by the tribe and being physically injured both led to the exact same outcome: death. So the next time you feel physically sick with anxiety before a presentation, realize that your body is just desperately trying to save your life. But here is the massive evolutionary mismatch. Your environment has changed at lightning speed, but your biological software hasn't had an update in 300,000 years. In the ancient savanna, making a severe social mistake meant being physically exiled from the warm campfire into the freezing darkness to die entirely alone. Today, making a social mistake might just mean stumbling awkwardly over your words in a meeting, or getting 0 likes on a new digital photograph. But your primitive amygdala doesn't know what a digital photograph is. To your ancient brain, a social rejection online feels exactly like a predator's bite. Let's look closely at your typical modern day. You walk into a massive open-plan office or log onto a sprawling global social media platform. Instantly, you are surrounded by thousands of random strangers, casual acquaintances, and distant connections, completely shattering the natural protective limits of Dunbar's number. Your prehistoric brain, perfectly designed for a cozy, predictable tribe of 150 familiar faces, is instantly thrown into a state of panic. It frantically works overtime in the background, desperately trying to track the reputation, social status, and potential threat level of every single unfamiliar human you encounter. This constant, invisible neural scanning drains massive amounts of your physical energy, leaving you feeling mentally exhausted and socially burned out before noon even arrives. And then, you are forced to face the ultimate modern terror, standing up to speak in front of a large, intimidating crowd of silent, staring people. As you nervously step onto the stage, dozens or even hundreds of focused eyeballs suddenly lock directly onto your vulnerable body at the exact same time. In the harsh prehistoric wild, if multiple pairs of eyes were suddenly locked onto you in dead silence, it meant only one terrifying thing. It meant you had been targeted. You were surrounded, and you were about to be violently torn apart by a pack of hungry predators. Your body immediately reacts to save you. Your heart pumps adrenaline rapidly. Your palms sweat to grip a weapon, and your stomach empties to run faster. You are biologically preparing for a brutal, life-or-death physical battle against wild beasts, but all you actually have to do is show a PowerPoint slide. After the presentation is over, you sit back down. But unlike a physical threat, the anxiety doesn't fade. Your hands are still shaking uncontrollably. In the prehistoric savanna, a life-or-death survival event always had a definitive ending. You either successfully escaped the hungry predator, or you were eaten. Once you were safe back at the campfire, your brain signaled the all-clear, and those intense stress hormones quickly flushed out of your system. But in the modern world, the perceived social threats never actually leave. They follow you absolutely everywhere, silently hiding right inside your own pocket. Every single time you open a social media app, your primitive brain interprets it as walking into a massive, highly judgmental and dangerous global tribe. Every unread message, every lack of likes, and every ignored text is instantly processed by your amygdala as a terrifying sign of impending tribal exile. Because these modern digital social threats are abstract, invisible, and constant, your brain's alarm system never gets the signal to completely shut off and relax. Instead of a quick burst of adrenaline, your brain constantly drips cortisol, the chronic stress hormone, directly into your bloodstream all day and night. This evolutionary mismatch is exactly why you might lie awake staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning, feeling sick and completely unable to sleep. You are agonizing over a slightly awkward comment you made at lunch, replaying the moment endlessly in your mind like a broken, terrifying record. You know logically that nobody really cares, but your Paleolithic brain is treating that tiny social mistake like a starving hyena circling outside your tent. Evolutionary psychologists call this hyperactive agency detection. Our ancient ancestors survived precisely because they constantly overassumed extreme danger even when there was absolutely none. If a bush rustled in the wind, the human who assumed it was a tiger survived. The optimist who assumed it was just wind died. We are the direct descendants of the paranoid survivors. Your brain is genetically hardwired to assume the worst possible outcome in every single ambiguous situation. Assuming a rustling bush is a monster kept you alive. Assuming a short text message means everyone hates you just makes you completely miserable. Your Paleolithic brain was perfectly designed to care about the opinions of exactly 150 people, who all lived in your immediate physical vicinity. But today, we carry a glowing rectangular portal in our pockets that instantly connects us to the potentially judgmental gaze of over 5 billion anonymous strangers. When you post a photo and it doesn't get enough likes, your brain doesn't see a harmless digital metric. It sees the tribe turning its back. In the ancient savannah, you only had to be slightly faster or slightly more useful than the other few dozen people sitting around your campfire. Now, your ancient brain is constantly forced to compare your messy, everyday reality with the heavily filtered, perfectly edited highlight reels of the entire planet. This completely breaks our biological scaling. You feel like a failure because your primitive mind genuinely believes you are the absolute worst hunter in the global tribe. And then there is the crushing fear of missing out, or FOMO. Today, missing a social event just means you stayed home to watch movies. But 300,000 years ago, missing a crucial tribal gathering could literally mean you missed out on the only available food source for the week. If you weren't present when the hunters brought back the mammoth meat, you simply starved. Your genes remember that brutal math with absolute terrifying clarity. So when you see your friends hanging out without you online, your brain immediately sounds the primal starvation alarm, making your chest physically ache. We are basically driving a sophisticated biological machine that was meticulously engineered for a prehistoric wilderness, but we are navigating a chaotic digital superhighway. Every ping, buzz, and vibration from your phone is a tiny microstressor, constantly tricking your nervous system into believing a predator is snapping a twig nearby. No wonder we are the most anxious, stressed, and socially terrified generation in human history. Our bodies are constantly preparing for a war that doesn't exist. Your ancestors passed down this hypervigilant social radar as a gift of survival. It was the ultimate shield against the freezing cold of the Ice Age. But in a modern world where basic physical safety is mostly guaranteed, this ancient survival shield has slowly transformed into a heavy, suffocating psychological cage. To make matters worse, modern society demands that we constantly hide this completely natural biological reaction behind a thick, exhausting mask of fake professional confidence. When you feel socially anxious, you suffer from the spotlight effect. You become absolutely convinced that every single person in the room can see your terror. But the ironic truth is that almost everyone else is too busy desperately hiding their own ancient biological panic to actually notice yours at all. In our ancestral past, showing vulnerability and fear wasn't a weakness to be hidden. It was actually a crucial signal that you needed urgent help. When an early human showed genuine distress, it triggered deep empathy and immediate protection from the rest of the tribe. We survived by supporting each other. But today, by desperately locking our anxiety away behind a perfect professional exterior, we completely block the very empathy that our bodies are crying out for. So how do we fix this painful evolutionary mismatch? The first crucial step is to completely stop judging yourself for feeling the anxiety in the first place. Your body is not broken. Your brain is not defective. That pounding chest and sweating palms are the magnificent biological machinery that kept your lineage alive. When the panic hits before a meeting, don't fight it. Instead, take a deep breath and gently acknowledge that your ancient hardware is just doing its job. You are the unbroken result of thousands of generations of hypervigilant survivors. Your anxiety isn't a modern weakness. It is actually a deeply profound evolutionary strength. Once you understand that your body isn't broken, you can actually start using evolutionary anthropology to hack your nervous system and finally find some peace. The most effective strategy is to consciously shrink your perceived social world. Stop forcing your ancient brain to care about 5,000 random internet strangers. Instead, actively build a tiny, deeply connected modern tribe. Focus your emotional energy entirely on a small handful of people who genuinely have your back. When your brain clearly recognizes that you have a secure core group, it finally registers that you are safely inside the warmth of the campfire. Only then will your amygdala stand down. Only then will that suffocating drip of cortisol stop, allowing your nervous system to finally, truly, completely relax. If you have a secure core tribe, a rude comment from a stranger or a failed presentation suddenly stops feeling like a literal death threat. By understanding where your anxiety comes from, you stop fighting your own biology. You begin to respect the brilliant survival mechanism that built your lineage. So tonight, when you are curled up under your blankets, scrolling through your phone, and that sudden, empty, hollow feeling of isolation creeps in, remember that your body is not broken. It is remembering. It is remembering the freezing Ice Age wind. It is remembering the predators in the dark. Your heart pounds, your palms sweat, and your stomach ties in knots. Not because you are weak, but because you are the apex survivor of this planet. When you step back and look at the massive timeline of human evolution, you realize that modern civilization is nothing more than a tiny, confusing blip. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors battled the brutal cold, the terrifying darkness, and the savage predators using only their minds and each other. That feeling of crippling social anxiety is not a disease. It is the highly sensitive, beautifully engineered warning system that guaranteed your very existence today. So drop the exhausting mask, shrink your digital world down to a manageable size, and find the few real people who make your nervous system feel safe. Because despite all our advanced technology and modern cities, deep down inside, we are all just ancient hunter-gatherers looking for a warm spot by the fire. So tonight, when you are curled up in the dark and that familiar social anxiety hits, just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and remember, your body isn't broken. It's working perfectly. That anxiety isn't a modern flaw. It's the exact same survival alarm that kept your ancestors alive 300,000 years ago.